Hello everyone, my name is Chris Morris and I will be going over our lesson 3 for our working knowledge training. If you have not completed the lesson 1 and lesson 2 training, you'll need to do that before starting here because we're basically building on what was learned in those previous lessons. What we're going to go through today is how to add a new device to a system. Specifically, we're going to be adding a call station and a PSM. We'll do the call station first, and we'll talk about how to set up an alarm on a call station, and then we're going to talk about setting up a communication path for that alarm, and then we're going to look at the messages that we want to send out and what route we're going to select. After that, I'm going to create a PSM, and we're going to add an alarm to a PSM, so you can see how that's done, and then we're going to select a different type of alarm type, which would be reason on, where it has a tri-state with reason on acknowledge, or a tri-state reason on clear, or even a dual state reason on clear. And then after that, we're going to get into the device status page. What can it show us? What can we do with it? And the active information page. Once again, what's it going to show us and what can we do with it? So I'm going to get into it right here. So as you can see, I'm already logged in. From my VT3000 homepage, I'm going to select configuration, and then from the configuration page I'm going to select devices, and we'll see here that we've got where we're going to add devices, or if we had some already added, they would list here. So I want to add a call station, so I basically go over here to my add new column and I click on my call station icon, and as you can see, this comes up with my properties tab, which is essentially where I'll name this device. So let's just call this, let's just call it Station 1. Okay. The next thing we have to set up is the buttons for that box. As call station has 4 buttons. We've got to set those up. So we click on monitoring points and we'll see button 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, they're all alarms. Just hover over it, it'll say alarm. So what I want to do is go ahead and just click on the first one that's in that column there, and so we got button 1. So essentially what we'll have is our alarm properties. So what we want to do is, for alarm name, give the alarm a name. So, and then we want to select mode. So there's 3 different modes here. First one, dual state, basically means press the button once to set it, press the button again to clear it. Tri-state means press the button once to set it, press the button a second time to acknowledge it, press the button a third time, which would clear it. Other option is disabled, which would mean that you don't want to use this button. So you're basically saying turn it off. Next thing we're going to get into is the communications. So basically when we set this alarm, I'm going to go and put it on tri-state. When we set this alarm, we want to send out messages, like I was saying, to emails, text messages. We want to send out pagers. We're doing voice, text to speech, whatever it is. But we need to determine who we're going to need to select a route, which tells us who we're going to call, and we need to set up those messages. So what we do is we click here where it says communications, and you'll see that you have your communications toolbox here. So we want to add a new path to it. So we're going to select that add new path icon, and as you can see, this all comes up here. We got our path is listed here. Path name comes up as default. If you wish to rename it, you can do that. Just say, let's call this test path. And next thing we do is we want to select the route. So as you can see, I still have my routes that was set up in our lesson 2. So I'm just going to select test route 1. Lag time. This means if you want a delay in the time from when they press the button until when we start reaching out to these people on our route and sending our messages, which we'll fill out here in a minute. This is just saying, how long do you want to delay that? So basically if I type in 30, what I'm saying is after they press the button, I want to wait 30 seconds before I start communicating to any of the outputs on this route. So for my purposes, I don't want there to be a lag. I want the person to press the button, and I want people to start getting the messages immediately. So the next thing we get into is the text message for the outputs then on our test route 1. So there's an easy one here where you can just basically click this default one, and so it just has these tags in it, name and device name. So basically all it's saying is, hey, take what's the name of the alarm and what's the name of the device. So we called this, they call station, what we call station 1. I'm going to click off this so that this will populate. But so basically what that's saying is name of the alarm. So maintenance needed at, and when I went to properties here, station 1. That's just saying maintenance needed at station 1. It's just grabbing those names that are already there. We can also do the same thing for the acknowledge. Has the exact same thing. Maintenance responded to station 1. We could also do it for clear. We'd come up with the same thing. Maintenance issue resolved at station 1. So you can also just type in your own message. If, like, say you needed to abbreviate it for some reason, or you wanted to type in a totally different thing. Just say like west corner, something to that effect. In other words, if you needed to put in something customized that doesn't fit by our default, just type into the box and that's what'll go out instead of the default like I was showing here. For me, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it as default, just like that. Also, once you have a path established in here, these other tools will be available. So click the trash can. It's basically going to delete it. If you click this, it'll essentially duplicate it. So if we were like going to say test pass 2, so now you have 2 paths in there. So let's just say you did path 2. We wanted to send to these other people, whereas path 1 we're sending out to route 1. Path 2 we're sending out to route 2. So that would be duplicate. The other thing you can do is you can click this here to copy to the clipboard. As you see, clipboards now you can paste. The other thing is you get these arrows. So when you have multiple paths, you can move them up and down with the arrows, right? So you can move this one up, or you can move it down, back up, however you want to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. And basically I'm going to set up my next button. Right, so we're going to call this lead, make it a tri-state. So for communication, so what I want to do is I want to have the exact same information that was on that previous one. So I'm going to paste from the clipboard. So now I have this path, which is all the same. I'm saying the only thing that changed is for this one, I'm going to go to route 2 instead of route 1. Now I'm going to click on this. So as you'll see, I have my maintenance going to test route 1. It's sending out the default message. When I go to my lead, I have test path and it's going to route 2, and I have all my messages going out. So once again, select your alarm. The alarm, this is where you name it, and select your mode. Communications, this is where you add what you want to say and what route you want to send this communication out to. That basically sums up what we have here for adding an alarm or setting up an alarm for a call station. Just remember that what we did there for communication paths will stay the same for product status modules, any other call stations you do, touch input modules, any of our other devices. You will get the same. The communication path part will look exactly the same. You set it up exactly the same. For the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a product status module, just because that has a few different alarms with some different interactions. So we'll go ahead and click on that from our add new list, and we'll just call this test PSM1. That'll be on our properties where we have to put in our name. Then we want to select our monitoring points tab, just like we did in our call station. The difference here is basically PSM is totally blank, right? It doesn't have anything in it yet. So what we want to do is we want to add an alarm. So we're going to actually click on the icon here, add an alarm. And so let's just call this maintenance. Then when we get into our mode, so we got a lot of different modes here for PSM. So first one is dual state, and as you can see, I'm just a short line tri-state. So that's exactly the same as what we had on the call station. We don't have it disabled because if we don't want to use the button, we basically just delete it. So the other additions that you see here is like we have a dual state with reason on clear. Basically what that means is when someone comes to clear this alarm on this device, the tablet's going to ask them for, hey, why are you clearing this out? What's the reason for the problem? Same thing here for tri-state with reason on acknowledge. We're basically going to ask them why they're there on acknowledge, or tri-state reason on clear. We're going to ask them when they clear. There's this other type which is called a monostate, and essentially that's just a button where you press it on, you would select it on the tablet, and it'll just immediately set and immediately clear. You can use it if you have to have an inspection of the line every so many minutes and you just want to record that, somebody was there, you can use that. Basically just hit it once and it'll set and clear. There'll be a record in the database that was set. The other thing is a label. So we'll do this. I'll get into this in a minute and kind of show you how that works. But basically a label just allows you to break down alarms further. So you get more specific selections in what you're doing. So for right now, I'm going to select, this is maintenance. I'm going to go ahead and just select tri-state with my reason on acknowledge. The other thing we can get into with PSMs and touch inputs is you can select the color of the button that shows on the screen. So as you can see, it's our basic and-on colors: red, yellow, green, blue, white. Maintenance, I'm just going to say, hey, that's a blue. If I were going to do my communications, I would do it exactly the same, right? Might select my route, test 1, put my default messages. Now basically I've got that set up. I'm going to select route so that I see that my maintenance alarm is here. So as we remember, this is reason on acknowledge. So what I have to do is I have to put in those reasons. So selecting the alarm, I'm going to hit add new alarm. And here, like I say, I'm going to just select reason I acknowledge. I will get into label in just a moment here. So to reason I acknowledge, just say broken belt. So basically, when they set this alarm, when they acknowledge, it's going to say, whoops, I misspelled that. Let's change that to broken belt. So basically, they're going to hit this, they're going to come to acknowledge, and it's going to come up with a list of reasons and say, well, why? And so this one I have is broken belt. I can have multiples, so let's just say a script bolt. So it'll be a reason I acknowledge. So now there will actually be 2 reasons that come up. Put as many reasons as you want. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this so that see that I got this here. So the other thing is like I was explaining about a label. So what does a label allow you to do? Well, so let's just say, for instance, that we wanted to put a state. Let's just say we use one module and we would put 2 stations, right? So let's just say this was station 1. Well, this isn't an alarm. This is just a label, right? So in station 1, then we would have our alarm. So then say we can have maintenance, where we would select, I'm just going to do tri-state just so that it's a little more simple. And, then we could add another alarm in here that was, say, for supervisor. Once again, I'm just going to select tri-state here, and let's do red. So essentially what would happen is they would see both these maintenance and station 1, but basically if they saw station 1, they would click station 1, and then it's going to say, okay, well, do you want to make a maintenance call or you want to make a supervisor call? So that's what a label allows us to do. It just allows us to break it down into different sections, and you can break it down farther and farther. We suggest only going like 3 levels just because otherwise it gets really complicated for someone trying to enter it in, select the right thing. So this is basically takes care of a PSM and the different types of alarms that are available inside of a PSM. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit my save and exit here. And now we can see it's got my test PSM and my station 1 call station here. Once you get devices set up inside here, there's a couple other options here. So you can delete. Just be careful when you hit delete because it's not going to ask you if you're sure. It's just going to delete it. The other option is copy. So if we have multiple call stations that are all basically the same, they just are different locations, we could just hit copy and just say station 2. So I hit save and exit. So now I have a station 1 and a station 2, and they're identical. when those messages go out, the way I have it set up is it's pulling the device name. So it'll say maintenance needed at station 1 on this one, and it would say maintenance needed at station 2 on that one. You can do the same thing with the PSM, copy it, same way. The other thing you can do is, so if you have one selected, and by the way, you can select multiples the same way as we did on routes and outputs by just control key on the keyboard and then clicking on another one. So what you can do here is like a printout. So this will show you the name of the device, what type of device it is, and what we're, there's other information here, but for our purposes here, we're just going over alarm. So we'll tell you that it's a maintenance alarm, or the name of the alarm is maintenance. It is an alarm. It's tri-state, and that it's going to test route 1, and this is a message that it's sending, right? And it'll escalate until someone answers it, right? So name, responded to device, just like I was saying, the alarm name, maintenance, responded to name of the device, which is station 1. As you can see, we got one for lead, button 3 and 4 we didn't set up. Anyway, this kind of give you an overview so you can make sure that you get the right information in there. Okay, the next thing we want to go over today is device status. So I'm going to go over and switch to a different computer here. So from my home menu here, I would go to diagnostics, and then you'll see device status. And as you can see, what I have in here is what my system is. So right now I have a coordinator plugged into the computer, and that coordinator is talking to a PSM that's out on the floor here. So what this will tell you is there will be icons here next to each one of the devices, and like this one signifies this is a coordinator. This one says it's a PSM. There's one for a touch input that has like a blue border around it. A call station one is like a box with 4 buttons. Anyway, they'll kind of display exactly what each one is. Product will list what type it is. So this is a product status module. This is a coordinator. It would say call station, but it'll also give you the firmware version that it's running right now. Next thing I do is device name. Coordinators don't have names. So like I said, this is programmed to be test PSM1. So if it was to test PSM2, it would show that, or it could say not configured, which means we haven't sent a configuration to it yet. The mesh network, or the network, sorry, is going to save. So each coordinator you set up, it'll ask for a name of what you want to call the network that it's going to establish. So for mine, I just have it called mesh network. This module is talking to this coordinator, and so it's on the mesh network. If you had multiple coordinators where you maybe had mesh network 1, mesh network 2, mesh network 3, then the module would show which one of the coordinators it was talking to. Mesh address. So each module has a sticker on the box near the electric cord that comes out, and this sticker will have an address on it, which we call our mesh address. So inside the box there's a radio, it has an address. So what you can do is look at that sticker to get that mesh address, and then come here and find it on your list, which is helpful if you're trying to see if one is active or if you need to program it, which I'm going to get into in a moment to give it a configuration. Last heard from, so this is just telling you how long it's been since it's heard from this specific device here. So it's been 20 minutes since it's heard from the PSM. This is saying it's been 3 minutes since it's talked with the coordinator. Details, that's something that technicians use to try to figure out what's going on. Options is the one we're concerned with here. So you could configure a device through this. So we'd hit options, you would hit configuration, and you would see, I just have the one PSM, but there was a bunch of PSMs. There'd be a list. I would select which one I wanted to program this as, and then I would hit update configuration. It would basically come up saying updating, and you would see this means that it's downloading. This is our status, and icons in here will signify different things, but if you just hold over it, it'll tell you what it's doing. Just refresh, so now it's programmed as PSM1. The other page we're interested in here is the active information. So if we're on our home page, we would select the active information icon, and we would see everything that's set. So I here have the PSM. It's got 3 alarms that have been activated. So ID and parent is just something for the system. Doesn't really mean anything for you guys. Device, this is the name of the device, what it's programmed as. Type, like I said, alarm, 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 alarm. It'll have the icon there. The name, so it's the name of the alarm. Maintenance, lead, and supervisor. Start, this is date and time when it started. So, like I said, this started at 10:28 today. So it's been running, this one's for like 25, they're all both for about 25 minutes is the duration, so it'll tell you how long it's been running. And then the state, so what state is it in? So this maintenance alarm is in set, this lead alarm has been acknowledged, and this supervisor alarm has been set. Data is for something else that we get into later. Last thing you have is this admin, and basically it just means that you're allowed to clear this alarm out from here. So if I click this, it's going to clear this alarm from my page here, but it's also going to clear it off of the module. It's helpful for sometimes, every once in a while you get one that gets stuck, and so you can just clear it out from here. That will conclude the lesson for today. I'm going to go back over here to our page here. I'm going to go down to summary on this PowerPoint and basically summarize what we did. So we were adding new devices, right? So we added a call station and a PSM. Then we went to our monitoring points and we were able to add alarms to those devices. Did the both monitoring points to a call station and to a PSM. And then we set up communication paths for the alarms. We're showing how to select the route, the lag time for those, and entering the text for the messages that are going out. We get into the PSM alarms, right, where we were learned how to add alarms to that, and the different types that are available for PSMs, and setting up reasons for those alarms. The device status page, we found out how to identify a device by either its name, its type, or its mesh address. We also learned how to program it. And the last thing we looked at was active information, where we can identify an active monitoring point, i.e. alarm, and we could clear it from inside that menu. This is the practical application, which I suggest you do. It just telling you to add test call stations, mess around with the paths and the messages, set up a fake PSM and mess around with the different types of alarms and the reasons on clear and different types of reasons, just to make sure you kind of have a good understanding of it. Device status is just take a look at it and see if you can identify these questions that it's asking. Active information is basically asking you to go set alarms on your devices and come back and look at what it's got and see if you can identify stuff and clear it out, just so you kind of understand exactly how it works. Last thing here is additional information, just like we've had in the past 2 lessons. Click here, it takes you to our VT3000 wiki page, which basically is like a manual for VT3000. This is the specific overview pages for what we did today here. So devices, communications, talks about communication paths, active information, the active information page, device status page. Then how-to guide, so there's one in there on how to add a call station, how to add communications to an alarm, which we went over, and just a little more specifics about what other things that are on that device status page that maybe we didn't cover today. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.